On the night of our anniversary, my wife decided to celebrate her ex-lover's birthday instead and stayed out all night, dismissing my reaction as unreasonable. "If this keeps up, we should just get a divorce," she said. In the past, those words would have terrified me. I would have cried and apologized endlessly, but this time, I simply responded calmly. "All right." She froze, unprepared for my reaction. When Lucy finally returned home, cheerful and carefree, I was throwing untouched food into the trash. The previous night had been our wedding anniversary. She had suggested earlier that celebrating just the two of us would be dull and proposed inviting friends over instead. I had taken the day off work to prepare, shopping for ingredients, cleaning the house, arranging the living room, and cooking an elaborate meal, but I waited all night. No guests arrived, not even my wife. It was through social media that I discovered where she had gone. Lucas's birthday celebration. His birthday had already been celebrated just a month prior. In one of the photos, Lucas had a dab of cream on his nose. His cheek playfully pinched by someone wearing a wedding ring identical to mine. The caption read, "Someone insists on celebrating my birthday on 18th of every month. It's wonderful to feel so cherished." Lucy glanced at the steak I had just discarded inside. "If you can't cook well, don't waste food." In the past, I might have argued with her, demanding to know why she had abandoned me on our anniversary to be with him. But now, I didn't feel the need to engage. I simply resumed cleaning up the remnants of last night's preparations. Lucy suddenly pointed to a takeout box she brought home. "Nathan, I brought you some cake," she said. It was her usual tactic. Bringing me treats whenever she thought I was upset, assuming food could fix everything. I looked at the cake. It was a leftover from Luca's party, who packs a birthday cake in a takeout box. "Have some, babe," she added before heading to the bathroom. "I'm going to shower." As she disappeared into the bathroom, I continued cleaning, throwing out the trash. While arranging the flowers on the table, her phone lit up with a message. Lucy always put her phone on silent when she came home, a habit that had stopped surprising me long ago. The screen displayed a message from Luca. "Lucy, you were so naughty last night. My waist still hurts." I stared at the screen, my grip tightening on the scissors I was holding. Lucy stormed out of the bathroom, snatching the phone from my hand. "You're always trying to spy on me, Nathan," she snapped. The scissors slipped and cut into my palm. Blood began dripping immediately. Lucy barely glanced at me, muttering, "You're so careless." She added reluctantly, "Come on. I'll take you to the hospital." I didn't argue. The wound was deep and stung terribly. As we drove, I noticed something new in our car. Two small dolls on the dashboard, a woman and a man locked in a kiss. The names Lucy and Luca were engraved on them. Noticing my gaze, Lucy explained hastily. "Luca thought the car looked too plain, so he gave me these as a gift." I pressed the gauze against my palm, keeping my tone even. "It's fine." I remember the time when I had placed a small figurine on the dashboard shortly after we bought the car. Lucy had thrown it out, calling it impractical and distracting. Seeing that I wasn't reacting, she glanced at me with a puzzled expression. "You're not angry?" she asked. Why would I let it bother me? I didn't care about her anymore. So why let her actions affect me? I stared straight ahead, refocusing. I need to catch up on the work I've missed today. Let's get to the hospital quickly. Lucy sped up as she noticed the blood starting to seep through the gauze on my hand. Just before we reached the hospital, her phone rang. She glanced at me nervously, but when she saw my calm expression, she answered the call. "Baby, my back hurts so much I can't move. It must be from last night. You need to come help me." Although she didn't put the call on speaker, her voice was still audible. I turned my gaze to the window, pretending I hadn't heard anything. Lucy hung up, then pressed the accelerator and took a sharp right, heading towards Luca's place. As we passed the pharmacy, she abruptly stopped the car, ran inside, and came back with a tube of massage cream. She then drove directly to his apartment. When we arrived, Lucy hurriedly got out of the car. "I'll just grab a document. I'll be back in 5 minutes," she said, locking the car. I stayed behind, my dizziness worsening as the pain in my hand intensified. Blood soaked through the bandage, spreading quickly. I lost consciousness at some point only to later learn that passers-by had found me, smashed the car window, called an ambulance, and gotten me to the hospital. That evening, Lucy finally came home. I was quietly sipping porridge, pale and exhausted. "Where's my dinner?" she asked. She was fully aware of my injury, but had still insisted she'd be home for dinner. I had only ordered food for myself. I didn't even look up or check my phone. Lucy noticed a cake on the table, untouched. "You didn't eat the cake?" she asked. I muttered weakly. Maybe went bad after sitting out too long. Seemingly remembering something, Lucy pulled a small gift bag from her pocket. "Here's a new perfume." I finished the last sip of porridge. My lips colorless and drained of blood. "You can give it to someone else," I said flatly. "I'm allergic to perfume." Lucy froze early in our relationship. She had once given me perfume, and I had told her then about my allergy. She had been embarrassed at the time. Now it seemed she had forgotten until this moment. Setting down the bowl, I picked up my phone, moved to the couch, and began watching funny videos, laughing softly. Noticing the bandage on my hand, Lucy finally seemed to remember my injury. She reached out, but I instinctively pulled back, accidentally knocking the perfume onto the floor. "Nathan," she said, her tone sharp. "All you had to do was wait a little longer in the car." "Was that so hard? I didn't even complain about the window you broke." I remained indifferent. "How much to fix it?" "I'll pay," I replied. Lucy couldn't hide her sarcasm. "With the little you make, what difference would that even make? You could never be as understanding as Luca. He's younger, but so much more mature." Lucy and I were both 30, while Luca had just graduated college. He was 8 years younger than us. Age had become Lucy's favorite weapon in arguments. In the past, I might have argued back, but this time, I stayed calm and simply nodded. "You're right," I said, glancing at the time and realizing it was nearly time to meet a friend. Grabbing my bag, I left. Lucy, assuming I was making another dramatic exit, wore a sour expression. "Nathan, now what?" she called after me. To my surprise, she followed me a few steps, a change from her usual dismissive attitude. But when I casually responded, "Just heading home to pick something up," she stopped and said nothing, retreating to her phone. In reality, I was meeting a friend to discuss my plans for divorce. My phone buzzed with a message from Lucy. "Where are you?" I didn't reply. My friend, looking concerned, asked, "She never used a check-in like this when you went out. Do you think she suspects you're considering a divorce and regrets it?" Calmly, I replied, "If she did regret it, would it matter?" She shook her head firmly, understanding my resolve. After that, we spent hours discussing the details of my decision. I returned home in the early hours of the morning to find Lucy sprawled on the couch. The TV was tuned to a basketball game, but her eyes were glued to her phone. She didn't even look up when I walked in. Ignoring her, I headed for the shower. After drying off and turning off the lights, I climbed into bed. Moments later, Lucy came into the room. Without a word, she wrapped her arms around me and started touching me. I caught her hand and pushed it away firmly. Annoyed, she turned the light back on. "Didn't you say you wanted a baby?" she asked sharply. For years, whenever I brought up the idea of having children, Lucy had brushed me off impatiently. Now she was the one bringing it up, and I couldn't help but feel indifferent. "I'm tired," I said, lying on my side. "I have work tomorrow." The words mirrored what she had often said to me in the past. Lucy frowned. "You're the one refusing now, so don't blame me later." She slammed the door on her way out, heading to the guest room. For the next several nights, she stayed in the guest room. This was her usual tactic, sleeping separately to manipulate me into seeking reconciliation. In the past, I would lie awake, unable to sleep, and eventually give in. But this time, I didn't react. I slept soundly. It was Lucy who tossed and turned, frequently glancing toward the master bedroom whenever she passed by. For half a month, I stayed composed and unbothered. One morning, when we both had a day off, Lucy hesitantly approached me. "I'm going out to buy breakfast." "What do you want?" "Pastries." "Sure," I replied simply. Relieved she left, but she didn't come back. That afternoon, while eating takeout, I scrolled through photos in an alumni group chat. Mark, a classmate, had posted wedding photos. In every shot featuring Lucy, Luca was clinging to her arm, both of them smiling as if nothing else in the world mattered. Lucy's call interrupted my scrolling. Her tone was eager as if she had rehearsed an explanation. "Nathan, I was out getting breakfast and remembered Mark's wedding was today. One of the bridesmaids canceled last minute, so they asked me to step in. I was actually planning to bring you along." I nodded even though she couldn't see me. "Well, congratulations to him. Aren't you angry?" she asked cautiously. "Why should I be?" There was a long pause on the line, so long I thought the call had dropped. Just as I was about to hang up, Lucy's voice broke the silence. Lucy finally spoke, her voice hesitant. "Nathan, I know things have been tense between us lately, but can we talk when I get home?" I didn't respond immediately, letting the silence stretch. "We'll see," I said nonchalantly, then hung up without waiting for her reply that evening. Lucy returned earlier than usual. She hesitated at the doorway. Her usual confidence replaced by unease. She was holding a bouquet of flowers, a gesture that felt more performative than sincere. "These are for you," she said, extending them awkwardly. "I know I've been distant. I want to make things better." I accepted the flowers without a word and placed them on the table. The silence in the room was heavy as she shifted uncomfortably, waiting for me to respond. "Nathan," she began. "I've been thinking about us. I want to fix things. I know I've made mistakes, but I still love you." For a moment, I studied her. The woman who once made me feel cherished now felt like a stranger. Her words rang hollow, lacking the sincerity I needed to hear. "Lucy, I said, my voice steady. Do you love me, or do you just hate the thought of losing control? Her eyes widened slightly, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind. She opened her mouth to protest, but I held up a hand to stop her. I've spent years bending over backward, trying to make this marriage work, I continued. But love isn't about keeping score or playing games. It's about respect, trust, and partnership. Can you honestly say we have that? She fell silent, her gaze dropping to the floor. I deserve more than this, I said firmly. And frankly, so do you, but we won't find it together. The finality of my words seemed to hit her like a wave. She looked up, her expression a mix of disbelief and desperation. Are you leaving me? She asked. I'm choosing myself, I replied. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of clarity and peace. There was no anger, no lingering doubt, just a quiet certainty that I was making the right decision. Lucy sat down heavily on the couch, staring into the distance. She didn't protest or argue, and I took that as my cue to leave the room. In the bedroom, I began packing a small suitcase. The task felt surreal, but also liberating. I wasn't running away, I was reclaiming my life. When I emerged with my bag, Lucy was still sitting in the living room motionless. I'll be staying at a hotel for a while, I said calmly. We'll figure out the logistics later. As I reached the door, she finally spoke. Nathan, I didn't realize how much I was losing until now. I paused, but didn't turn around. Sometimes we only appreciate what we had once it's gone, I said softly, then stepped outside, closing the door behind me. The night air was cool, and for the first time in years, I felt truly free. My path was uncertain, but it was mine to choose. The story wasn't over. My life was just beginning. As I stepped out into the cool night air, I felt an unfamiliar yet liberating sense of calm wash over me. The city lights blurred as I walked, my mind clearer than it had been in years. I wasn't sure where I was going, but for the first time in a long time, it didn't matter. Every step away from that house felt like a step toward reclaiming myself. I booked a room at a small unassuming hotel a few blocks away. It wasn't luxurious, but it was quiet, clean, and most importantly mine. The receptionist handed me the key with a warm smile. Her casual kindness grounding me in a moment that still felt surreal. The room was modest, just a bed, a desk, and a single window overlooking the city. I dropped my bag and sank onto the bed, letting the weight of the day catch up to me. Exhaustion clung to my body, but my mind was already racing toward the future. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the thin curtains, waking me earlier than I anticipated. My phone buzzed incessantly on the nightstand, notifications piling up, missed calls from Lucy, messages from mutual friends, even a few from her family. Each one urged me to talk things out or give her another chance. I silenced the phone without opening a single message. Instead, I made a list. It was something I hadn't done in years, focused solely on what I wanted, what I needed. The first item was obvious: meet with a lawyer. The second, find a new place to live. The third, rebuild step by step. Before I could overthink it, I called the number my friend had recommended during our conversation about the divorce. The lawyer's assistant answered promptly, and within minutes, I had an appointment scheduled for the following week. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. Later that day, I decided to visit the cafe where I used to spend quiet afternoons before everything became so complicated. The familiarity of the place was a comfort, the smell of freshly brewed coffee, the sound of light chatter, and clinking mugs. I ordered my usual drink and found a seat by the window, letting the moment anchor me. As I sipped my coffee, my thoughts were interrupted by a voice. Nathan, is that you? Looking up, I saw a familiar face, Megan, an old friend from college. Her warm smile was a welcome sight. Wow! It's been ages, she exclaimed, sliding into the chair across from me without hesitation. How have you been? For a moment, I hesitated. How do you summarize years of heartbreak, disappointment, and the decision to finally walk away? But Megan's kind eyes invited honesty. I'm starting over, I said simply, the words feeling both heavy and freeing. Her expression softened, and she reached across the table to squeeze my hand. Starting over can be scary, but it can also be the best thing you'll ever do. If you need anything, someone to talk to, help with anything, just let me know. Her sincerity brought a lump to my throat. Thank you, Megan. I mean it. That evening, back in the hotel room, I finally allowed myself to reflect on everything. Lucy's face haunted my thoughts, not with sadness or longing, but with curiosity. How would she react when she realized I wasn't coming back? Not this time. Would she fight for me? Or had her grip on our relationship already loosened beyond repair? A notification broke my reverie. It was an email from the lawyer's office confirming my upcoming appointment and attaching a list of documents I would need to gather. Among them were joint financial records, accounts Lucy had always managed. I frowned, realizing that untangling myself from Lucy wouldn't just be an emotional journey, but a logistical one too. This wasn't just about leaving. It was about reclaiming everything she had made me feel I couldn't handle on my own. 2 days later, as I began organizing documents, I received a message from an unknown number. The message read, "Nathan, I know you've left. I don't blame you, but I think you should know something. Call me when you're ready." There was no name, but the tone felt urgent, almost cryptic. Against my better judgment, I dialed a number. A deep, unfamiliar voice answered on the first ring. "I wasn't sure you called," the man said. "My name is Adam. I think we need to talk about Lucy." My pulse quickened. "What about her?" Adam hesitated, then spoke with a calm intensity. "There are things you don't know. Things that could change everything." The air around me seemed to freeze. "What kind of things?" "Not over the phone," he replied. "Can you meet me tomorrow? I think you deserve to hear the truth." The intrigue left me both anxious and determined. What truth could possibly make this more complicated? As I hung up, I realized I was stepping into uncharted territory, not just with Lucy, but with the life I was beginning to rebuild. Whatever came next, I would face it head on. This wasn't just about escaping the past anymore. It was about uncovering it. The next day, I met Adam at a quiet cafe downtown. He was tall with a steady gaze that suggested he had weighed every word he was about to say. As I sat across from him, my heart pounded with a mix of apprehension and determination. "Nathan," he began, his voice low but firm. "You deserve to know what's been going on behind the scenes. I was once in a similar situation to yours. Lucy has patterns. Patterns she's repeated with people like Luca and others before him." I leaned in, every fiber of my being on edge. "What do you mean?" Adam unfolded a small folder, sliding it across the table. Inside were photographs, emails, and documents, evidence of Lucy's tangled web of deceit. It wasn't just infidelity. It was financial manipulation, emotional exploitation, and a trail of broken promises to others who had once been in my shoes. "She targets men who trust too easily, who give too much," Adam explained. "She builds a facade of being the perfect partner, but behind it, she's always looking for the next thrill, the next conquest. Luca isn't special to her. He's just the latest." The weight of his words sank in as I flipped through the evidence. Each piece felt like a puzzle snapping into place, finally revealing the full picture of the woman I thought I had loved. "But why are you telling me this?" I asked, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. Adam met my gaze. "Because I've seen her destroy too many lives. I couldn't save the others, but I can help you walk away stronger. And if you're ready, you can ensure she doesn't do this to anyone else." That evening, as I returned to the hotel, I felt a clarity I hadn't known in years. For so long, I let Lucy define my worth, my choices, my life, but no more. Adam's revelations weren't just about Lucy. They were about me reclaiming my power. I opened my laptop and began drafting a message to Lucy. It wasn't angry or emotional. It was precise, outlining the terms of our divorce, the division of assets, and my intention to move forward without her. I attached a scanned copy of the documents Adam had shared, ensuring Lucy knew that I wasn't a naive man she thought she could manipulate. The email ended simply, "This is the last time you will hear from me directly. My lawyer will handle the rest." As I hit send, I felt an overwhelming sense of liberation. I wasn't leaving quietly, nor was I leaving broken. I was leaving on my terms. In the weeks that followed, the fallout was inevitable. Lucy tried everything: apologies, anger, even veiled threats, but I remained steadfast. With Adam's guidance and the support of my lawyer, I navigated the divorce with a strength I didn't know I possessed. Meanwhile, Luca's world began to unravel. The evidence of Lucy's duplicity spread through their circle, leaving him to confront the reality of the woman he thought adored him. He reached out to me once, asking how I had endured it for so long. I didn't respond. That chapter was closed. Months later, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment overlooking the city. The chaos of the past was behind me, replaced by the quiet satisfaction of a life rebuilt from the ground up. I had started a new job, reconnected with friends I had lost along the way, and even begun exploring passions I had long buried. As I sipped my coffee, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Megan inviting me to a weekend getaway with some old friends. I smiled, realizing how far I had come, not just physically, but emotionally, before stepping back inside. I took one last look at the horizon. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the city. It felt symbolic, a new chapter beginning as the old one faded into memory. For the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving, and that I realized was the most powerful ending to my story: a life reclaimed, a spirit unbroken, and a future entirely my own.